Welcome back to another Plasticon review. Today we're going to cover some more Generation 2-ish G.I. Joe type of things, like the 90s Joes, basically. The reason I consider this stuff G2 is because it literally is the 90s. This is one of the Ninja Force figures, and this is Scarlet. Scarlet's probably one of the core figures actually out of the line. They came out with a newer version of her in a box set, but this is the vintage version, which is what we're looking at, and she pretty much is one of the ones I actually absolutely love. It's a very, very cool character, and they did a very good job with making her look very comic book accurate. Her comic book iteration was pretty interesting, considering she kind of literally gets injured by Storm Shadow in the comic, and it's pretty cool that they actually made a figure of her. I do happen to have her file card, which it's very pink, and it's got this black lettering, which is kind of hard to read, but you guys can kind of pause this if you want to be able to read it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to read, considering the way the font is put on this really screaming pink card, which I absolutely love this color. It's actually much easier to read in person than it is on camera, but if you guys want to pause it to read it, you can. It's pretty interesting. I do like the fact that, you know, they actually had file cards for that. Here's a picture of her box art. Her box art would have been the same on the actual file card itself. As you can see, this was actually cut out. That's kind of like the lower part. And this is pretty much where the sprue of parts would have been. That's why it's kind of, you know, doesn't have a whole lot of tearing from the card itself. So it's kind of funny because it kind of shows a little bit of her action situation here, which I'll show you here in a minute what she does. She does have a nice little gimmick, but kind of just tells you what bits and pieces that she had armed on her, showing that, you know, she had grenades, elbow guards, body armor, an oak-handled 6-shooter, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if the actual figure itself has it painted. It does not. Would have been kind of cool to see that done. You know, sword deflecting stuff and things like that. And it's kind of crazy that they have her in a pose where she actually has a set of nunchucks in her hand and a sword, which, to be honest, if you look at the way the pose is, you can almost probably put her using a bow and arrow like she probably properly should have, but that's okay. I'll put the file card here to the side and talk about some of her accessories before we actually start looking at her. She came with several different kind of swords. She had a short sword katana here, which is pretty nice. And most of the Ninja Force figures came with the same loadout of the weapons that they came with. We have a little broader sword, which is a little broader type of katana. It's got a bit of a kind of a curl here, which is very nice. I actually like these. I know some people do not like the weapons that the 90s Joes came with. I happen to be in the minority on that. I love the idea that it came with a ton of weapons. Then we have a ton of weapons to give to other characters too, not just to the one. And then we had a bit of a dagger here, which I just dropped. I'm gonna lose it. No. No. Hey, I found it. Anyway. I like the way the hilt is on this. It's kind of cool how it curves. These all have pretty decent molding on them as well. It's kind of hard to see, but got some nice molding on it. And then she comes with 2 of these, which are basically claws. Kind of ninja claws. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Wolverine, but that's okay. And these usually get kind of bent up pretty bad. Mine are actually in really good condition considering the age. And like I said, these came out years ago, like in the 90s. So this is like 1993, 1994. She also comes with a nunchuck, which is kind of cool. And she also comes with a, I'm going to go ahead and try to pull these weapons out of her hands here, so we can actually take a look at her a little better here in a second. But it also comes with a longer katana, which is cool. The longer katana actually has a little skinnier handle, so I tend to use it a little more often than the other ones, just because I'm always afraid thumbs are going to break on these figures. And the fact that these are actually getting much harder to find nowadays is kind of interesting. She actually does have a soft good, which is kind of cool that her hair is actually kind of like My Little Pony hair. If you guys have ever handled one of those, it's kind of cool. I like the fact that it all kind of comes out in a bit of a ponytail. Would have been neat to actually see maybe an interchangeable one, so you didn't actually have this, but that's okay. I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cool. It gives a bit of a different look there. She also has this piece of braided, kind of a faux leather, velvety piece of string that kind of comes off the sides here. It's really neat. It's pretty nice to handle, actually. It's not bad. And they're actually kind of fixed in here, so you don't have to worry about these actually falling off. I rarely ever see Ninja Force figures with this missing unless some kids literally ripped them off, or maybe they got kind of tattered to the point that they don't hold together very well. But this is actually in really good condition. Speaking of condition, you can tell she's got a very nice head sculpt. Her head sculpt's very well done. She has your normal Joe articulation with the neck, where it kind of moves up and down. It doesn't really move back and forth much, but it does have the side to side. Mine's a bit stiff, so I try not to mess with them too much, because I'm afraid, you know, something may end up happening. But the sculpting is amazing on these, actually. But I mean, it's G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe always had really good sculpting. She has a really, really interesting outfit. The outfit's kind of cool. She happens to have a grenade right here, kind of just tucked in her chest, which is cool. She does happen to have a couple of like ninja daggers on her back. I like the fact that this gold goes throughout her entire outfit. It's really neat. It's nice to see. But she does have like your standard articulation with the rotating elbow and bending elbow and such. And I mean, literally it's your standard G.I. Joe articulation in the upper part. She does have these nice little elbow pads as well. And you know, just overall very, very cool sculpting. The pistol on the side would have been nice to see maybe a little bit of black on the actual pistol, and maybe a little brown on the grip, but that's okay. I mean, you can also see the barrel of the pistol's kind of sticking out to the bottom, which would have been kind of cool to see a little bit of black there, here, and then maybe a little brown there. Would have been nice. The sculpting is actually very well done, though. That's one thing about it. The Joes that they had back then, these Joes are always very well sculpted. She does come with a stand. Every one of these Ninja Force figures always came with a stand. And the funny thing is the stand and all the weapons came on a sprue, much like a model kit, which was kind of cool. I actually never thought that was a bad thing. I actually like that idea, because if you're one of those kind of people that didn't want to use every single solitary item that your Joe had, it was nice to have a bit of a way to be able to not use them all. Like, you can leave them on the sprue and put them away somewhere else. But let's take a look at her action figure. Her action feature is you pull her leg back and then she'll kick forward, which she does it automatically because there's a spring system in there, which is kind of cool. And it only happens on the one leg. This leg does not do that. Is only on her right side, which is kind of cool that she has a action feature like that, because you know, if you wanted her to like kick over a bad guy, she could easily do that. That was the gimmick with the Ninja Force figures. The Ninja Force figures all had some kind of action gimmick. Now I do know when they redid these figures later on for Street Fighter, Chun-Li ended up with this body type, which is okay. I personally think it fits better for Scarlet. One day, hopefully, I can end up getting hold of those figures, because I really would love to have all the Mortal Kombat and all the Street Fighter figures like these, because I'm just into this scale. I like this scale. This scale is great. It's easy for me to display, and I don't know, I just like this. Now I do know that they had a newer version of her that came out with a box set that had a whole bunch of Generation 2 stuff, which was really cool, but I can't stomach the price for one. And honestly, I'm not really a big fan of the newer styled Joes that they had put in there. I really wish they would have just stuck with this, because they would have stuck with this, I would have probably jumped all over that set back when it first came out. But it didn't, because I wasn't really into that aesthetic. I like the older aesthetic for the older Joes. Now her little claw pieces here, they actually do clip on. And they're supposed to clip on around the wrist, which is kind of hard to do. I think it's better off if you just kind of stick it around her hand, but I don't know, I just never could get these claws to work the proper way, because they're supposed to just kind of set over the wrist just like that. There we go. Hey, I got it. But it's kind of cool that she can have claws. Kind of funny. But you know, I think these are really appropriate to have, because it's cool to have extra weapons for a lot of your characters out there. I don't know if you guys ever get into having different weapons on some of your characters. I don't always use the same weapon that a Joe comes with, because as far as I'm concerned, with them being all like combat oriented, they should be able to use pretty much any kind of weapon that's given to them if they're trained proper on these. Especially if you're a ninja, you're going to know how to use everything in the arsenal. You're not going to just know how to do one thing. And I know Scarlet was only like undercover as a ninja, but she did have a lot of ninja skills back then, considering she was able to use a bow and arrow the way she was. She had to be very agile with something like that, and you have to be very hand-to-hand combat, especially if you're using something like that in a ranged environment and in close quarters, considering you're using a bow and arrow. Bow and arrow only has a certain amount of range to it, and you kind of need to be a bit stealthy, so being a ninja was actually pretty great for her. But anyway, this has been Plasticon. This has been a quick look at the Ninja Force Scarlet figure from 1993-1994. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this, because I really do like these figures. These figures are very underrated as far as I'm concerned, and I really do like them. And this isn't some piggyback thing off Pixel Dan, because I know Pixel Dan really got into these, but I've been into these ever since I was a kid. This was something that didn't ever go away from me. But anyway, I'll see you guys around, because I have plenty more coming your way. And this has been Plasticon. This is me, signing off. Peace out, y'all. I'll see you around. That's it for now. Bye.